caught on tape for all to see. It's animal abuse at its very worst. There's been an explosion of these images on the internet, and the people who produce them are pocketing big dough. Tonight, our Christina Stevens looks at whether it's time to treat animal abuse like child pornography, and a warning that some of the images you're about to see are very disturbing.
Yep. Good boy, good boy.
2-year-old Max is one of the nicest guys you could meet.
We don't have any cookies.
And this is the kind of welcome he offers anyone who'll let him. But just a few short months ago, the worst moments of Max's life were caught on camera as he was beaten. Time and again by this man.
I want to ask you, why did you beat the dog? Rupinder?
I don't know.
You don't know? What happened?
I got drunk. Thank you.
Why did you do that?
Thank you.
The judge sentenced 35-year-old Rupinder Hera to 21 days in jail, citing the graphic security video which showed repeated attacks on the dog over 5 hours. The camera, which proved his undoing, is being embraced by abusers.
Tonight, 22 pit bulls are in custody at the Tacoma-Pierce County Humane Society. Many show signs of abuse and mistreatment.
Violence against animals rarely makes the supper hour news, but fueled by the rapid growth of the internet and profit from online video sales, this violence has exploded in much the same way as child pornography.
Hi, I'm Bob Stevens.
He's the man at the center of the battle, pitting animal lovers against free speech advocates. Stevens sold videos of dogfights, resulting in the first and so far only conviction under a law making the distribution and sale of animal cruelty videos illegal. The head of the Humane Society of Canada, Michael O'Sullivan, is concerned the court will bow to what he calls political correctness.
His lawyer is arguing he can circulate dogfighting and animal fighting videos because it's his freedom of expression.
Still, child psychologist Dr. Frank Hession says an argument can be made for putting animal cruelty in the same category as child porn.
We also place limits on that when there's obvious harm, especially to particular individuals. So you cannot make and distribute child pornography.
The original idea behind the legislation was to curb the online proliferation of something called crush videos, in which women in high heels would stomp on small animals like kittens and then sell the videos for big bucks. That appears to be the same motivator behind one of the most infamous animal cruelty cases in recent history, the Michael Vick case.
Vick was convicted of federal charges for dogfighting. At Bad News Kennels on Vick's Virginia property, dogs fought to the death or close to it, and losing dogs were electrocuted, drowned, or hanged.
I worked on the Michael Vick case, the football player that was dogfighting. So I processed that scene and looked at those remains.
Senior forensic veterinarian for the American SPCA, Dr. Melinda Merck, says Vick's 23-month jail sentence was a landmark case, which reflected how society did feel about dogfights. And she says she doesn't see his reinstatement in the NFL as a defeat because the case brought so much publicity to the issue.
No.
And like this video supplied by the Ontario SPCA shows, dogfighting is very much a reality here in Canada as well. As disturbing as this is, Agent Scott Sylvia says he finds cockfighting even more violent.
To make it more entertaining, they'll add 3-inch razors to their legs and watch them just, hack each other to bits.
I regret that everything will happen, and that's it, and I just have to move on.
52-year-old Danilo Patawaran is serving 6 months house arrest for running a cockfighting ring in his barn, just north of Toronto. He says, according to his culture, he did nothing wrong.
Do you believe it was cruel or you don't?
Well, it's in our culture, it's not. It's our national sport.
At the time, you didn't think that what you were doing when you saw the blood and everything, you didn't think that that was cruel in any way?
I think what is cruel is hunting. Because he just shoot the damn animal for nothing, just for the mere fun of it.
70 people were arrested at the fight and dozens of roosters seized.
We found 6 carcasses of roosters with open wounds and slash marks, and they'd actually tried to destroy them when we showed up. They threw them in a stove.
He says most people can't even imagine the kinds of things he sees, in part because where there's animal abuse, there are usually other crimes taking place as well. From drugs and money laundering to so much worse.
An authority no less than the FBI considers cruelty to animals one of the 3 primary indicators of future criminal potential.
That's why O'Sullivan says animal cruelty, caught on camera or not, should be taken seriously. He points to Canada's best-known killers as examples.
Mark Lepine used to shoot pigeons. In Paul Bernardo's case, reportedly his wife's iguana bit him, so he cut his head off. And in the case of Jesperson, he used to kill kittens in front of his kids and then hang them on a clothesline.
Dr. Ascione, who specializes in the link between animal abuse and crime, says a child who's a victim themselves may act out on an animal.
It was often associated with things like intimate partner violence, with physical and sexual abuse of children.
Dr. Christina Curtis runs the only diversion program in North America for kids who've abused animals. She says there can be any number of reasons for it. The case which stands out to her is one where a little boy killed his own pet.
He was actually trying to protect his animal from the perpetrator who was torturing the animal. So if you hadn't asked about that, you wouldn't know. You'd assume that he was a, he was a vicious little child, and he wasn't.
The experts we talked to are leaders in the field, though they say little research has actually been done. There is, however, enough research to make a direct link between animal abuse and child abuse. So they'd like to see it made mandatory for veterinarians to have to report any suspected cases of animal cruelty.
Animal cruelty doesn't occur in a vacuum. It does occur behind closed doors, and it's associated with family violence. I think the more that they understand what's really going on, what's the mindsets, the mental problems of people that commit these crimes, the more that we're going to see action.
In Hara's case, not only did he beat Max, he also sexually abused him, a circumstance the judge said made the case more egregious. Unfortunately, none of this surprises those on the front lines who never know what they're going to see around the next corner.
I don't know what's going to be around the next corner, but I want to make sure that I get around the next corner so that I can find out what's happening and try to fix it.
He says what keeps him going is that for every story of evil, there's one equally as good. He'll never forget rescuing a dog named General who barely survived being starved, trapped under a balcony rail. General is now thriving with his new owner.
Look at Mom. Look at Mom. Yes, you're beautiful.
And Queenie, with several bad infections, was tossed in a river. 10-pound dumbbells wrapped around her neck. While she still bears the scars of her ordeal, she's fat, happy, and spoiled rotten.
She's so good. She wasn't a throwaway dog.
And Max. A few missing teeth are the only permanent reminders of his ordeal, despite being the prime example of animal abuse caught on tape. An example animal lovers are hoping will force the courts and society to look hard at the issue and take it as seriously as crimes against people.